Imagine a place at the very bottom of the world where the sun can disappear for months and the wind sounds like a pack of wolves howling across a frozen desert. It's a place so cold, your eyelashes could freeze together if you blinked too slow. This is Antarctica. But here's the thing. Antarctica isn't just cold and empty. It's hiding something big. Something buried deep under miles and miles of ice. And for some reason, nobody is allowed to just go there and dig it up. Weird, right? Why would a whole continent be off limits? Why would the world's coldest, loneliest place be the center of so many secrets? Tonight, we're not just talking about penguins or snowstorms. We're going on a journey into the heart of Antarctica's biggest mystery. We'll drift across frozen deserts, peek under the ice, and try to figure out what's really going on down there. But before we start, I want you to picture this. A land so white and bright, it hurts your eyes. A place where the ground is hidden under a sheet of ice thicker than any building is tall. And somewhere, way down below, there's something the world isn't ready to see. What could it be? Why can't we touch it? Why do scientists, explorers, and even governments tiptoe around this place like it's made of glass? There's a reason, but it's not what you think. So, grab your warmest coat, and let's step into the unknown. Antarctica is calling, and it's not just the wind you'll hear. There's a secret buried here. And tonight, we're going to get as close as anyone ever has. But be careful, the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's waiting at the end of this journey. Antarctica is the 5th largest continent on Earth, bigger than Europe and almost twice the size of Australia. But here's the wild part. Almost nobody lives there. No cities, no highways, no shopping malls. Just a few research stations, scattered like tiny dots across a sea of white. And under all that ice, there are mountains, lakes, even volcanoes. Yet, volcanoes under the ice. But the real question is, what's hiding down there? Why is it so hard to get to? And why do so many people want to know what's beneath the ice, but almost nobody is allowed to find out? It's like the world's biggest do not enter sign. And the more you look, the more you realize, something about Antarctica just doesn't add up. Why would a place with nothing but ice be so important? Why do countries from all over the world send scientists there, but never let them dig too deep? And what's with all the rules? There's a treaty, signed by almost every country, that says nobody can own Antarctica, and nobody can mess with what's under the ice. Sounds like a mystery, right? But don't worry, we're just getting started. The deeper we go, the more questions we'll find. And trust me, the answers are even stranger than you think. So, keep your eyes open and your mind ready. Antarctica's buried secret is waiting. And we're about to take the first step into the unknown. But before we go any further, let's just stop and think for a second. Why would the coldest, most remote place on Earth be the center of so much attention? Why would people from all over the world want to go there, even if it means freezing their toes off? And why, after all these years, is the biggest secret still hidden under the ice? The answer is out there, somewhere in the white. And tonight, we're going to chase it. So, are you ready? Because once we start, there's no turning back. Antarctica's buried secret is calling, and it's time to find out why we can't touch it yet. Alright, so you're bundled up, ready to step into the wildest, coldest place on Earth. But before we go any deeper, let's zoom out for a second. Antarctica isn't just a giant ice cube at the bottom of the map. It's a place with a story that's been building for millions of years. And the craziest part? Most of that story is still locked away, frozen under layers of ice thicker than skyscrapers are tall. But why is that? Why is Antarctica so different from everywhere else? Let's start with the basics. If you could fly over Antarctica in a plane, you'd see nothing but white for miles and miles. It's like someone took a giant bucket of snow and dumped it over a whole continent. But if you could peel back that ice, you'd find a land full of surprises. There are mountains taller than the Rockies, valleys deeper than the Grand Canyon, and lakes so big you could fit entire cities inside them. And all of it is hidden, like a secret world, just waiting to be discovered. But here's where things get weird. Even though we know there's all this stuff under the ice, we're not allowed to just go and check it out. There are rules, big, serious rules. And they're not just about keeping people safe from the cold. They're about keeping the secrets safe, too. You see, back in 1959, a bunch of countries got together and signed something called the Antarctic Treaty. It's like a giant pinky promise. Nobody owns Antarctica, and nobody can use it for anything except peaceful science. No armies, no mining, no drilling for oil. And here's the wildest part. Almost every country in the world agreed. Even countries that don't usually get along. Why would they do that? What's so special about this frozen land that everyone wants to protect it? Some people say it's because Antarctica is like a time machine. The ice holds secrets from the past, tiny bubbles of air, frozen for thousands of years. By studying them, scientists can learn what the world was like long ago. Others say it's because Antarctica is so pure, so untouched, that it's the perfect place to study nature without any human mess. But there's another reason, too. Some people think there's something under the ice that the world isn't ready to find. Maybe it's a lost world, or a hidden treasure, or something even stranger. Whatever it is, the rules are clear. No digging, no taking, no touching. And if you break the rules, you're out. No second chances. It's like the whole world is guarding a secret, and nobody wants to be the one who lets it out. But what could be so important, so mysterious, that it needs this much protection? The answer is out there, somewhere under the ice, and we're getting closer. But before we go any further, let's take a look at what's really under all that ice. Because trust me, it's not just snow and frozen water. There are things down there that could change everything we know about our planet. And the closer we get, the more the mystery grows. So, are you ready to keep going? Because the next part of our journey is about to get even colder, even stranger, and even more mysterious. Antarctica's buried secret is waiting, and we're just getting started. But don't blink, you might miss something wild. So, let's get real for a second. If you could somehow snap your fingers and make all the ice disappear, what would you see? Would it just be a bunch of rocks and dirt, or is there something more? Well, scientists have been trying to answer that question for years, and what they've found is honestly mind-blowing. Underneath all that ice, there's a whole hidden world. There are mountain ranges that stretch for hundreds of miles, with peaks that poke up like the spines of a sleeping dragon. There are deep valleys and canyons, some of them so big you could drop the entire city of New York inside and still have room left over. And then there are the lakes. Yeah, you heard that right, lakes. Not frozen solid, but full of liquid water, trapped under the ice for millions of years. One of the most famous is called Lake Vostok. It's buried under more than 2 miles of ice, and it's bigger than some of the Great Lakes in America. Scientists have tried to drill down and take samples, but it's tricky. If they mess up, they could ruin the lake forever. The water down there is ancient, maybe millions of years old, and nobody knows what's living in it. Could there be strange creatures trapped in the dark? Could there be secrets from a time before humans even existed? Every time scientists get close, they have to stop and think, is it worth the risk? What if we find something dangerous? What if we change the lake forever, just by looking? It's a tough choice, but the mystery is too big to ignore. Lake Vostok is just one of many hidden places in Antarctica. There are valleys, caves, even rivers, all buried under the ice, and every one of them could be hiding something amazing, or something terrifying. The only way to know for sure is to keep searching. But the deeper we go, the more we realize some secrets don't want to be found. And that's not even the wildest part. Some scientists think there might be entire ecosystems down there. Tiny worlds where life has been evolving in total darkness, cut off from the rest of the planet. Imagine that. Creatures that have never seen the sun, living in water that's never touched the air. What would they look like? How would they survive? And what could they teach us about life on Earth, or even life on other planets? The questions just keep piling up, and the answers are still out of reach. But one thing's for sure, Antarctica is way more than just ice and snow. It's a giant, frozen mystery box, and we've only just started to lift the lid. So, what's really down there? And why can't we just go and find out? The rules are strict, the risks are high, and the secrets are deeper than anyone ever imagined. But the adventure is just getting started, and the next chapter is about to get even crazier. Ready to keep going, because the best part is still ahead. Now, let's talk about those rules again, because the more you learn about them, the stranger they get. Like I said before, the Antarctic Treaty is this big agreement that says nobody owns Antarctica. But it's not just about ownership, it's about control. It's about making sure nobody messes with what's down there. And when you really think about it, that's kind of weird, right? Why would the whole world agree to keep their hands off a place that's full of mystery and maybe even treasure? Here's the thing. Back in the 1950s, before the treaty was signed, countries were starting to get really interested in Antarctica. Some wanted to claim it for themselves. Others wanted to dig for resources like oil, coal, and minerals. And a few were worried that Antarctica could become a battleground, a place where countries fought over who got what. That's when everyone realized, if we don't make some rules now, things could get ugly fast. So, in 1959, 12 countries came together and signed the Antarctic Treaty. Today, more than 50 countries have joined. And the rules are simple but serious. Antarctica belongs to no one and everyone. You can do science there, but you can't take anything out or leave anything harmful behind. You can visit, but you can't set up shop and start digging. And most importantly, you can't use it for anything that could hurt the planet or start a conflict. It's like the world's biggest nature preserve, protected by a promise. But here's the question that keeps popping up. What are they really protecting? Is it just the environment, or is there something more? Some people think the treaty is about keeping the peace. If everyone agrees that Antarctica is off limits, then nobody has a reason to fight over it. That makes sense, right? But others think there's a deeper reason. Maybe there's something under the ice that's so important, so powerful, that the world can't afford to let just anyone find it. Maybe it's something that could change the way we live, the way we see the planet, or even the way we understand life itself. And if that's true, then the treaty isn't just about keeping the peace, it's about keeping the secret safe until we're ready to handle it. But what could that secret be? What's so important that it needs this much protection? Some scientists think it could be ancient life forms, frozen in time, waiting to be discovered. Others think it could be evidence of a lost civilization, buried under the ice for thousands of years. And a few even wonder if there's something from beyond Earth, hidden in the frozen depths. Sounds wild, right? But the truth is, we don't know. And until we can dig deeper, until we can explore more, the mystery just keeps growing. The treaty keeps us safe, but it also keeps us curious. It's like a fence around a treasure chest, and we're all standing outside, wondering what's inside. And the longer we wait, the more we want to know. But there's another side to this story, too. The treaty isn't just about what we can't do, it's also about what we should do. It reminds us that some places are worth protecting, even if we don't fully understand them yet. Antarctica is one of the last truly wild places on Earth. It's a place where nature still rules, where the ice and wind and cold had the final say. And maybe, just maybe, that's the way it should be. Maybe the secret of Antarctica isn't something we need to dig up and take home. Maybe it's something we need to leave alone, at least for now. Because once we start digging, once we start changing things, we can't go back. The ice will melt, the secrets will be revealed, and the mystery will be gone forever. Is that what we want? Or is the mystery itself part of what makes Antarctica so special? It's a tough question, and there's no easy answer. But one thing's for sure, the rules are there for a reason, and the secret, whatever it is still waiting under the ice. Let's rewind for a minute and talk about the people who first tried to explore Antarctica. Long before the treaty, long before satellites and research stations, there were explorers who sailed south into the unknown, hoping to find this mysterious land at the bottom of the world. They didn't have GPS or heated tents or fancy gear. All they had was courage, curiosity, and a whole lot of stubbornness. And what they found changed everything. The first people to actually see Antarctica probably spotted it in the early 1800s, but even then, it was hard to tell what they were looking at. Was it a continent, an island, or just a giant wall of ice floating in the ocean? Nobody knew for sure. But the stories they brought back were wild. They talked about storms so fierce, the waves could flip a ship upside down. They talked about icebergs the size of mountains, drifting silently through the fog. And they talked about a land so cold, so empty, so silent, it felt like the edge of the world. Some of them never made it back. Their ships got stuck in the ice, or crushed by the pressure, or lost in the endless white. But the ones who did come home brought with them a mystery that would last for generations. What was really down there? What was Antarctica hiding? And why did it feel like the land itself didn't want to be found? Fast forward to the early 1900s, and you've got the age of the great Antarctic explorers. Names like Ernest Shackleton, Robert Falcon Scott, and Roald Amundsen. These guys were legends. They set out to cross Antarctica, to reach the South Pole, to map the unknown. And they faced challenges that most of us can't even imagine. The cold was so intense, It could freeze your breath before it left your mouth. The wine could knock you off your feet and bury you in snow in seconds. And the isolation. Well, let's just say you had to be a little bit crazy to even try. But they did it. Some of them made it to the South Pole, others didn't. But every single one of them came back with the same feeling. Antarctica was different. It wasn't just another place to explore. It was a place that tested you, challenged you, and made you wonder, what secrets was it hiding? Why did it feel so alive? Even back then, people started to ask questions. Why was Antarctica so hard to reach? Why did the weather seem to fight back every time someone got close? And why, no matter how much they explored, did it always feel like there was something just out of reach, something waiting to be found? The explorers didn't have answers, but they had stories. And those stories spread like wildfire. People started to imagine all kinds of things hidden under the ice. Lost cities, ancient ruins, creatures from another time. Some even whispered about doorways to other worlds or secrets left behind by civilizations long gone. It sounds crazy, I know, but when you're standing in the coldest, loneliest place on Earth, surrounded by nothing but ice and silence, your mind starts to wander. You start to wonder, what if there really is something down there? What if the ice is hiding more than we think? And that's when the mystery really began. Because once people started asking those questions, they couldn't stop. And the more they explore, the more questions they had. Even today, with all our technology and science, we're still asking the same questions those early explorers asked. What's under the ice? Why can't we just go and find out? And what's the real reason the world is so protective of this frozen land? The truth is, we're still figuring it out. But here's what we do know. Antarctica is full of surprises. Every time scientists go there, they find something new. A new kind of rock, a new kind of ice, a new clue about the planet's past. And every discovery just makes the mystery deeper. Because the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Except this onion is the size of a continent, and it's buried under 2 miles of ice. So, what did those early explorers really find? And what are we still missing? The answers are out there, somewhere in the frozen depths, and the journey to find them is far from over. Okay, so we've talked about the explorers, the rules, and the hidden world under the ice. But now it's time to get into the really good stuff. Let's talk about what scientists have actually found down there. Because trust me, it's not what you'd expect. When you think of Antarctica, you probably picture a frozen wasteland with nothing but ice and snow. But underneath all that white, there's a whole landscape that's completely different from anything else on Earth. And the more scientists explore it, the more they realize just how strange it really is. First off, let's talk about the ice itself. Antarctica's ice sheet is massive, like, really massive. It covers about 98% of the entire continent, and in some places, it's almost 3 miles thick. That's taller than most mountains. And all that ice, it holds about 60% of all the fresh water on Earth. If it melted, the oceans would rise by more than 200 feet. That's enough to put entire cities underwater. But here's the thing. The ice isn't just sitting there. It's moving, slowly. Like a giant frozen river, it flows from the center of the continent toward the edges, where it breaks off into the ocean and becomes icebergs. And as it moves, it carries secrets with it. Scientists have found all kinds of things trapped in the ice. Bubbles of ancient air, tiny particles or dust from volcanic eruptions that happened thousands of years ago, even meteorites from outer space. Each one is like a message from the past, frozen in time, waiting to be read. But the ice is just the beginning. When scientists use special radar and sonar equipment to look underneath it, they find a whole hidden world. There are mountain ranges that have never seen the sun. There are valleys carved by ancient rivers that stopped flowing millions of years ago. And there are lakes, lots of them, trapped under the ice, cut off from the rest of the world. These lakes are some of the most mysterious places on Earth. They've been sealed under the ice for so long. Nobody knows what's inside them. The water is pitch black, freezing cold, and under so much pressure it could crush you in an instant. But somehow, scientists think there might be life down there. Not penguins or fish, something smaller, something stranger. Maybe bacteria or tiny organisms that have evolved in total darkness, cut off from the rest of the planet for millions of years. If that's true, it would be huge. It would mean that life can survive in places we never thought possible. And it would also mean that maybe, just maybe, life could exist in similar places on other planets, like under the ice on Jupiter's moon Europa or Saturn's moon Enceladus. Antarctica could be the key to understanding life beyond Earth, but here's the catch: we can't just go down there and check it out. Drilling into these lakes is incredibly risky. If we mess up, we could contaminate the water and destroy any life that's there. Or we could accidentally let something out, something that's been locked away for millions of years. And nobody knows what that could mean. So, scientists move slowly, carefully, one step at a time. They study the ice, they take samples, they use robots and cameras to peek into the darkness. And every time they do, they find something new. Something that makes them wonder even more. But the lakes aren't the only mystery. There are also these weird, massive structures buried under the ice. Some of them look like mountains, others look like ridges or valleys. And a few of them, well, they don't look like anything natural at all. Some scientists think they could be ancient rock formations, shaped by ice and pressure over millions of years. But others aren't so sure. They wonder if there's something more going on. Could there be something down there that wasn't made by nature? Could there be clues about the planet's past, or even about civilizations that came before us? It sounds wild, I know, but when you're dealing with a place as strange as Antarctica, you have to keep an open mind, because the truth is, we still don't know what's really under all that ice. We've only scratched the surface, literally. And the deeper we look, the more questions we find. So, what's really down there? What's hiding in the frozen darkness, waiting to be discovered? And why are we so careful about digging it up? The answers are still out there, somewhere under the ice, and the journey to find them is just getting started. Now, let's talk about something that sounds like it came straight out of a science fiction movie: ice volcanoes. Yep, you heard that right, under all that ice, there are actual volcanoes, and some of them are still active. I know what you're thinking: how can there be volcanoes in the coldest place on Earth? Doesn't ice and fire cancel each other out? Well, not exactly. See, Antarctica might be frozen on top, but deep below, the Earth is still hot, really hot. The same forces that create volcanoes everywhere else on the planet are at work under Antarctica, too. And in some places, that heat pushes up through the ice, creating these strange, hidden volcanoes that most people have never even heard of. One of the most famous is Mount Erebus. It's one of the few volcanoes in Antarctica that actually pokes up above the ice, and it's been erupting on and off for years. But it's not a violent, explosive kind of eruption. It's more like a slow, steady burn, a lake of molten lava that sits at the top of the mountain, glowing red in the middle of all that white. It's one of the most surreal sights on Earth, but Mount Erebus isn't alone. Scientists have found evidence of dozens of other volcanoes hidden under the ice. Some of them are huge, bigger than anything we've seen on the surface, and some of them might still be active, quietly rumbling away, deep below the frozen surface. So, what does that mean? Well, for one thing, it means Antarctica is way more geologically active than we thought. The land isn't just sitting there, frozen in time. It's alive, moving, changing. And those volcanoes could be shaping the landscape in ways we don't fully understand yet. But here's where it gets really interesting. Those volcanoes might also be melting the ice from below. Scientists have found places where the ice is thinner than it should be, or where there are pockets of water that shouldn't exist, and they think it's because of volcanic heat rising up from deep inside the Earth. If that's true, it could change everything we know about how Antarctica works. It could mean that the ice is melting faster than we thought, not just because of climate change on the surface, but because of heat from below. And if the ice starts melting too fast, well, that's when things could get really messy. But it also raises another question. What else is down there? If there's enough heat to melt ice, could there be other things thriving in those warm pockets? Could there be life hidden in places where the ice meets the heat? Some scientists think so. They found bacteria living near volcanic vents in other parts of the world, in places where the water is boiling hot and full of toxic chemicals. If life can survive there, why not in Antarctica? It's another piece of the puzzle, another clue that makes the mystery even bigger. And it's another reason why we have to be so careful about what we touch. Because if we mess with the ice, If we disturb the balance, we could change things in ways we can't predict. We could release heat, or water, or gases that have been trapped for millions of years. We could trigger changes that spread across the entire continent, or even the entire planet. That's why the rules are so strict. That's why we can't just go digging wherever we want. Antarctica isn't just a frozen wasteland. It's a living, breathing system, with its own rhythms and cycles. And if we mess with it, we could break something we don't know how to fix. But the volcanoes aren't the only thing that's strange about Antarctica's underground world. There are also these massive channels, like rivers, but made of ice, that flow deep beneath the surface. Scientists call them ice streams, and they move way faster than the ice around them. Some of them flow at speeds of more than a mile per year, carrying huge amounts of ice toward the ocean. And nobody's quite sure why they move so fast, or what's driving them. Some think it's because of water at the base of the ice, acting like a lubricant. Others think it could be heat from the earth below, or pressure from the weight of the ice above. But the truth is, we're still figuring it out. And every time we learn something new, it just raises more questions. What's really going on under the ice? What forces are at work, shaping this hidden landscape? And what will happen if those forces change? The answers are still out there, waiting to be discovered. But the more we learn, the more we realize just how little we actually know. Antarctica is full of surprises, and every time we think we've got it figured out, it throws us a curveball. So, what's the takeaway here? Antarctica isn't just a big block of ice. It's a complex, dynamic, ever-changing world. There are volcanoes, rivers, lakes, mountains, and who knows what else, all hidden under the ice. And every single one of them is a clue, a piece of the puzzle that could help us understand not just Antarctica, but the entire planet. But we're not there yet. We're still exploring, still learning, still asking questions, and the biggest question of all is still waiting for an answer. What's really buried under all that ice? And why can't we touch it? The mystery continues. Alright, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about the creatures that actually live in Antarctica. Because yeah, there are living things there, and some of them are way weirder than you'd think. When most people picture Antarctica, they think of penguins. And sure, penguins are everywhere. They waddle around on the ice, dive into the freezing water, and somehow manage to survive in one of the harshest places on Earth. The penguins are just the beginning. There are seals, whales, birds, and even tiny bugs that call Antarctica home. And each one of them has adapted to survive in ways that seem almost impossible. Take the Antarctic midge, for example. It's a tiny insect, so small you could barely see it, and it's the only insect that lives on the Antarctic continent full-time. It doesn't fly, it doesn't sting, and it spends most of its life frozen solid. Yet, frozen, like completely solid ice. And then, when the temperature warms up just a little bit, it thaws out and goes about its business like nothing happened. How crazy is that? Or think about the ice fish. These guys live in water so cold, it would kill most other fish instantly. But they've got a secret weapon: antifreeze proteins in their blood. Yep, their bodies literally produce antifreeze to keep their blood from turning into ice. And some of them don't even have red blood cells. Their blood is clear, almost see-through. It's like they evolved to be ghosts of the ocean. But here's the thing. These animals aren't just cool to look at. They're clues. They're proof that life can adapt to almost anything. And if life can survive in Antarctica, one of the coldest, darkest, most extreme places on Earth, then maybe it can survive in other extreme places, too. Like on other planets, scientists study these creatures because they want to understand how life works at its limits. What does it take to survive in a place where everything is stacked against you? How do you adapt when there's no sunlight for months, when the temperature never rises above freezing, when food is scarce and the wine could blow you away? The answers might help us figure out if there's life on Mars or on the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Because if tiny bugs and fish can survive in Antarctica, then maybe something is surviving out there in space, too. But Antarctica's creatures aren't just teaching us about other planets. They're also teaching us about our own planet's past. Some of the animals living there today have been around for millions of years, barely changing at all. They're like living fossils, snapshots of what life was like in a different era. And by studying them, scientists can piece together the history of life on Earth, But here's where things get even stranger. Scientists have found microbes, tiny organisms, living in some of the most extreme places in Antarctica. Places where there's no light, no oxygen, barely any water. Places where nothing should be able to survive. And yet, they do. These microbes live in the ice, in the rocks, even in the super salty lakes that never freeze, no matter how cold it gets. They've figured out how to survive on almost nothing, using chemical reactions that we barely understand. Some of them have been trapped under the ice for thousands, maybe even millions of years. And when scientists bring them up to the surface and study them, they find something amazing. These microbes are still alive, still functioning, still doing their thing, even after being locked away in the dark for longer than human civilization has existed. What does that tell us? It tells us that life is tougher than we thought. It tells us that even in the most extreme, hostile environments, life finds a way. And it tells us that maybe, just maybe, there are other forms of life hiding under the ice, forms we haven't discovered yet. But there's a flip side to all this. If life can survive in such extreme conditions, what happens if we disturb it? What if we drill into a lake that's been sealed off for millions of years, and we accidentally introduce bacteria from the surface? We could contaminate the whole ecosystem, destroying something unique and ancient before we even get a chance to study. Or worse, what if we bring something up from the depths that doesn't belong on the surface? What if there are microbes down there that have been isolated for so long, they've evolved into something completely different, something we've never seen before? It sounds like something out of a horror movie, I know, but it's a real concern. Scientists take it seriously. That's why they're so careful when they explore these hidden places. They sterilize their equipment, they follow strict protocols, and they think long and hard before they drill or dig or disturb anything. Because once you open that door, you can't close it again. And that's another reason why we can't just go and touch everything in Antarctica. It's not just about protecting the environment, it's about protecting ourselves. We don't know what's down there. We don't know what we might find. And until we do, we have to tread carefully. But that doesn't stop us from being curious. In fact, it makes us even more curious. Every new discovery, every weird creature, every strange microbe just raises more questions. What else is down there? What other secrets is Antarctica hiding? And what will we find when we finally unlock them? The truth is, Antarctica is like a giant laboratory, a place where nature experiments with life in ways we can't even imagine. And the more we study it, the more we realize just how much we still have to learn. So, the next time you see a picture of a penguin sliding across the ice, remember, that penguin is just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath all that ice, there's a whole world of life, strange and wonderful and mysterious. And we're only just beginning to understand it. Now, let's talk about something that affects all of us, no matter where we live. Antarctica might be at the bottom of the world, but what happens there doesn't stay there. It reaches out and touches every corner of the planet. And that's because Antarctica plays a huge role in controlling Earth's climate. Think of Antarctica like the planet's air conditioner. All that ice reflects sunlight back into space, helping to keep the Earth cool. The cold water that flows away from Antarctica moves through the oceans, carrying nutrients and regulating temperatures all over the world. It's like a giant engine, quietly running in the background, keeping everything balanced. But here's the problem. That engine is starting to change. The ice is melting. Not all of it, not all at once, but faster than it used to. And that's a big deal, because when the ice melts, it doesn't just stay in Antarctica. It flows into the ocean, raising sea levels everywhere. Cities on the coast start to flood. Islands disappear. Entire ecosystems get thrown out of balance. And the more ice that melts, the worse it gets. But it's not just about rising seas. When the ice melts, it also changes the way the oceans move. Remember those cold currents that flow away from Antarctica? They help drive ocean circulation all over the world. But if the ice melts too fast, those currents could slow down or even stop. And if that happens, the whole climate system could go haywire. Some places could get colder, others could get hotter. Weather patterns could shift in ways we can't predict. It's like pulling a thread on a sweater. Once you start, the whole thing could unravel. So, why is the ice melting? Well, part of it is because the planet is getting warmer. Humans have been burning fossil fuels for over a century, releasing gases into the atmosphere that trap heat. And that heat doesn't just stay in one place. It spreads around the world, warming the air, warming the oceans, and yes, warming Antarctica. But here's where it gets tricky. It's not just the air that's melting the ice. Remember those volcanoes we talked about earlier? The heat from below is playing a role, too. And then there are the oceans themselves. Warmer water is flowing toward Antarctica, melting the ice from underneath. It's like the ice is being attacked from all sides, above, below, and all around. And that makes it really hard to predict what's going to happen next. Some scientists think the ice could hold on for centuries. Others think it could collapse much faster than we expect. And the scary part? Once it starts, it might be impossible to stop. But here's the thing. Antarctica isn't just a victim of climate change. It's also a witness. The ice holds a record of the Earth's climate going back hundreds of thousands of years. By drilling into the ice and studying the layers, scientists can see what the planet was like in the past. They can see when it was warm, when it was cold, when the air was full of carbon dioxide, and when it wasn't. It's like reading the Earth's diary. And what that diary tells us is pretty clear. The climate has changed before. There have been times when the Earth was much warmer than it is now, and times when it was much colder. Ice ages have come and gone. Sea levels have risen and fallen. The planet is always changing. But here's the difference. Those changes used to happen slowly, over thousands or even millions of years. Now, they're happening fast. Faster than most species can adapt, faster than we can prepare. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Antarctica is like a giant warning sign, flashing red, telling us that something big is coming. But it's not all doom and gloom, because the more we study Antarctica, the more we learn about how to protect it, and how to protect ourselves. Scientists are working on ways to slow down the melting, to reduce the amount of heat we're pumping into the atmosphere, to protect the ice before it's too late. But it's a race against time, and the clock is ticking. So, what does all this have to do with Antarctica's buried secret? Well, everything, because the ice isn't just hiding mountains and lakes and ancient life. It's also hiding clues about the future. By studying what's under the ice, scientists can figure out what might happen if it melts. They can see what the land looked like before the ice covered it. They can find evidence of past climate changes and use that to predict what's coming next. In other words, Antarctica's buried secret isn't just about the past. It's about the future, too. It's about understanding how the planet works, so we can protect it. And that's another reason why we can't just go digging around down there. Because if we mess it up, if we destroy the evidence, we lose our chance to learn. We lose the warning signs. We lose the answers. But there's something else, too. Something that makes this even more urgent. As the ice melts, it's revealing things that have been hidden for millions of years. Old coastlines, ancient riverbeds, fossils of plants and animals that lived when Antarctica was warm and green. And every time something new is revealed, it changes what we thought we knew. It's like the land itself is trying to tell us something, trying to show us what it used to be, and what it could become again. But are we listening? Are we paying attention? Or are we too busy with our own lives to notice what's happening at the bottom of the world? The truth is, Antarctica's buried secret isn't just buried under ice. It's buried under layers of time, history, and change. And the only way to unlock it is to keep exploring, keep studying, keep asking questions. But we have to do it carefully. We have to respect the ice, the land, and the secrets it holds. Because once they're gone forever. And we might not get another chance. So, let's get to the question that's probably been floating around in your head this whole time. What would actually happen if we did touch it? What if someone broke the rules, ignored the treaty, and just started digging? What would we find? And more importantly, what would it cost? The truth is, nobody knows for sure, but there are plenty of theories. Some scientists think we'd find evidence of ancient ecosystems, forests, rivers, maybe even animals that lived millions of years ago, before the ice took over. Imagine finding a perfectly preserved tree, frozen in time, still standing where it grew all those years ago. Or bones from creatures we've never seen before, locked in the ice like a time capsule. That would be incredible, right? But it could also be dangerous. Because if we're not careful, we could destroy those fossils before we even get a chance to study them. The ice has kept them safe for millions of years, but the moment we expose them to air, to warmth, to bacteria from the surface, they could start to decay. We'd lose them forever. And that's just one possibility. Other people think we might find something even stranger. There are rumors, some based on science, some based on wild imagination, that Antarctica is hiding things we're not supposed to find. Some say there are old military bases, hidden under the ice, left over from secret missions during the Cold War. Others whisper about crashed objects from the sky, buried deep where no one can see them. And a few even believe there are ancient structures, built by civilizations that lived long before recorded history. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like conspiracy theory stuff. And yeah, a lot of it probably is. But here's the thing. Antarctica is so big, so remote, and so hard to explore, that we honestly don't know what's down there. Most of the continent has never been fully mapped. Most of the land under the ice has never been seen by human eyes. So, could there be things hidden down there that we don't know about? Absolutely. Are they ancient alien cities or secret government labs? Probably not. But the fact that we can't say for sure, that's what keeps the mystery alive. And that's what makes people so curious. Because the unknown is powerful. It pulls at us. It makes us wonder, dream, imagine. And the more we're told we can't touch something, the more we want to. It's human nature. But there's another side to this, too. Let's say we do start digging, and we do find something incredible. What happens next? Who gets to decide what to do with it? Who owns it? Who controls it? That's where things get complicated. Remember, Antarctica doesn't belong to any one country. It belongs to everyone, and no one. So, if someone finds something valuable, like a rare mineral or a new energy source, who gets to use it? The country that found it. The world. And what if it's something dangerous, like a new kind of bacteria, or a chemical we've never seen before? Who decides how to handle it? These aren't just hypothetical questions. They're real concerns that scientists and governments think about all the time. Because the moment someone breaks the ice, literally or figuratively, the whole balance could shift. Countries could start fighting over resources. Companies could start pushing to drill and mine. And the quiet, peaceful continent we protected for so long could turn into a battleground. That's why the rules are so important. They're not just about protecting the environment. They're about protecting us from ourselves. Because history has shown us what happens when people rush into the unknown without thinking. We make mistakes. We destroy things. We let greed and fear take over. And once the damage is done, we can't undo it. But let's flip the script for a second. What if touching what's buried could actually save us? What if there's something under the ice, a resource, a discovery, a piece of knowledge that could help solve some of the world's biggest problems? What if there's a cure for a disease, or a new form of clean energy, or a clue that helps us understand how to stop climate change? Would it be worth the risk then? It's a tough question, and it's one that doesn't have an easy answer. Because the truth is, we're balancing on a knife's edge. On one side, there's the mystery, the beauty, the untouched wilderness of Antarctica. On the other side, there's the potential for discovery, for progress, for change. And somewhere in the middle, there's us, trying to figure out which way to go. Some people think we should leave Antarctica alone completely. Let it stay wild. Let it stay frozen. Let the secrets stay buried. Others think we should explore carefully, with respect, taking only what we need and leaving everything else untouched. And a few believe we should go all in, dig deep, find out what's there, and use whatever we find to help humanity move forward. Who's right? I don't know. Maybe all of them. Maybe none of them. But what I do know is this. Whatever we decide, we have to be smart about it. We have to think long-term. We have to consider not just what we want now, but what future generations will need. Because Antarctica isn't just ours. It belongs to everyone who comes after us, too. And if we mess it up, they're the ones who will pay the price. So, the question isn't just why can't we touch it? The question is, should we touch it? And if we do, how do we make sure we do it right? How do we balance curiosity with caution, progress with protection, discovery with respect? The answers are still out there, buried under the ice, waiting for us to find them. But the journey to get there is just as important as the destination. And the choices we make along the way will shape not just Antarctica's future, but our own. Okay, so let's get real. We've talked about the rules, the mysteries, the weird volcanoes, and the even weirder fish. But we keep coming back to that one big, tempting question. What if we just did it? What if we broke the rules? What if we grabbed a shovel and just started digging? I mean, think about it. We could solve all the mysteries at once. We could find the lost city, the alien base, the secret entrance to the center of the Earth. It's tempting, right? To just rip off the band-aid and see what's underneath. But here's the thing, and this is the most important part of the whole story. What if the cost of knowing is way higher than we can even imagine? What if, by trying to solve the mystery, we accidentally destroy the one thing that makes Antarctica so special? Let's talk about the price of touching it. The first cost is contamination. And I'm not just talking about dropping a candy wrapper. I'm talking about microscopic, invisible, can't be undone contamination. Think about those subglacial lakes we talked about, Lake Vostok, and all the others. They've been sealed off for millions of years. They're like sterile laboratories, completely untouched by the modern world. No germs, no pollution, no us. And scientists think there might be life in there. Ancient, weird life that has evolved in total isolation. Now, imagine we drill down. We send a robot, or a drill, or even a person. What happens? We bring our germs with us. Bacteria from our skin, from our breath, from our equipment, to us. They're harmless. To that ancient ecosystem, they could be a plague. We could wipe out a million-year-old species before we even get a chance to say hello. It's like going to a new planet and accidentally giving the aliens the common cold. We'd be the invaders, the destroyers, and we'd never even know we did it. We'd come back up, pat ourselves on the back for exploring, while down below, a whole unique branch of the tree of life was dying because of us. That's a heavy price to pay. Man, a really heavy price. But it gets worse. What if it's not just about what we give to Antarctica, but what we take? What if we drill into something that wants to come out? I know. It sounds like a movie, but think about it. We're talking about things that have been buried and frozen for millions of years. Ancient microbes, ancient viruses, things our immune systems have never, ever seen before. What happens if we accidentally release one? What if it gets into the ocean, and then into the food chain, and then, well, you can guess the rest. It's the real-life version of a zombie apocalypse, and the monster is a germ we've never met. Scary, right? The rules, the treaty, they're not just about being polite. They're about quarantine. They're about keeping Pandora's box locked tight. Because once you open it, you can't close it again. And the scariest part? We might not even know we've opened it until it's way too late. So now you've got two huge risks. We could destroy what's down there, or we could unleash it on the rest of the world. And both of those sound like terrible ideas. But there's one more cost, and maybe it's the biggest one of all. The cost of wonder. Right now, Antarctica is a mystery. It's the last great unknown on Earth. It's a place that makes us dream, that makes us ask big questions, that makes us feel small in the best possible way. It's a blank spot on the map, and our imaginations get to fill it in with lost cities and secret worlds and ancient secrets. But what happens when we dig it all up? What happens when we map every mountain, drill every lake, and find just rocks, just dirt, just regular, boring geology? The mystery dies. The magic is gone. Antarctica becomes just another continent. And that feeling of wonder, that feeling that there's still something amazing left to discover, that goes away, too. And once that's gone, you can't get it back. You can't unknow something. You can't unsee what's under the ice. So, is it worth it? Is finding out what's buried under the ice worth the risk of destroying it? Is it worth the risk of unleashing something terrible? And is it worth losing the one place on Earth that still feels truly wild and unknown? That's the real question. That's the secret the treaty is trying to protect. Not just the ice, not just the rocks, but the mystery itself. Because maybe, just maybe, some secrets are more valuable than their answers. And maybe the best thing we can do for Antarctica is to leave it alone. But that's easier said than done, right? Because the curiosity, it never stops. And as the ice starts to melt, the secrets are getting closer and closer to the surface. So, okay, let's say you're right. Let's say it's not ancient aliens, and it's not just a bunch of old rocks. What if the secret is weirder? What if it's something that breaks the rules? I know, everything in Antarctica is weird, but this is a whole different level of weird. This is physics-breaking, reality-bending weird, and it all starts with the numbers. Scientists are nerds, right? They love numbers, and when they started really looking at the data from Antarctica, they found some numbers that just didn't make sense. First, There's gravity. Gravity is supposed to be pretty consistent, right? It's what keeps us on the ground. But in some parts of Antarctica, gravity is wrong. Not by a lot, but just enough to be noticed. There are these weird pockets, these anomalies, where the pull is a little weaker, or a little stronger, or it pulls in a slightly different direction. It's like the Earth's core is lumpy in those spots, or like there's something under the ice that's messing with it. Scientists have tried to explain it. Maybe it's the thickness of the ice. Maybe it's the rock underneath, but the models don't quite add up. It's like there's a ghost in the machine, a hidden mass that they can't see. Then there's magnetism. The Earth has a magnetic field, and compasses point north. Simple, right? Except in Antarctica. In some areas, compasses just go haywire. They spin around, they point south, they point straight down into the ice. It's called a magnetic anomaly, and it's a real thing. But the ones in Antarctica are bigger and stranger than anywhere else on the planet. It's like the whole continent is sitting on a giant, messed up magnet. But here's where it gets really, really weird. Time. Yeah, you heard me. Time. Scientists have put super accurate atomic clocks in Antarctica just to see, and they found that time literally moves a tiny bit slower there than it does anywhere else in the world. We're talking nanoseconds, but it's there. It's a measurable difference. The only thing that can bend time like that is gravity, or speed, or something else, something really, really heavy, or really, really strange. So you've got weird gravity, messed up magnetism, and time that's out of whack. What does it all mean? What's the connection? Some scientists think, and this is where it gets spooky, they think that Antarctica isn't just sitting on normal rock. They think it's sitting on something that doesn't belong, something that's elsewhere. Imagine the universe is a big, stretchy sheet, and normally, things just sit on top of it. But what if something poked a hole through the sheet? What if something from underneath was pushing up? That's the theory, that what's buried under Antarctica isn't just part of our world. It's a leak. A tear in reality. A place where the rules of our universe don't quite apply. It's not a treasure chest. It's a cosmic boo-boo. And that changes everything. Because if that's true, then the reason we can't touch it isn't to protect a secret. It's to protect us. It's to protect reality. What happens if you poke a hole in a dam? You get a flood. What happens if you poke a hole in reality? Nobody knows. Maybe nothing. Maybe the hole just sits there, being weird. Or maybe the weirdness starts to spread. Maybe the laws of physics start to unravel. Maybe gravity stops working right in Australia. Maybe time starts going backward in Brazil. It's the ultimate Pandora's box. And the Antarctic Treaty. It's not a peace treaty. It's a quarantine sign. A giant, worldwide do not poke. It's the most important rule in the history of the world. And most people have never even heard of it. So, the buried secret of Antarctica might not be a thing at all. It might be a place. A place where our universe is broken. And the ice. The miles and miles of ice. It's not just a blanket. It's a lid. A cap on a bottle of cosmic crazy. And we're standing on top of it, wondering if we should twist it off. The mystery just got a million times bigger. And a million times scarier. Because now, the question isn't just what's down there. The question is, what if we let it out? Okay, so let's take a breath for a second. I know that last part sounded like a sci-fi movie. Time going weird, gravity acting funny, reality getting all bendy. But stay with me, because there's actually real science backing some of this up. And the more you dig into it, the more it makes you wonder, what if the wildest theories aren't that wild after all? First, let's talk about what we do know. Antarctica has these things called subglacial anomalies that scientists speak for stuff under the ice that we can't explain. They've been found using radar, satellites, and all kinds of fancy equipment, and some of them are huge. We're talking about structures the size of entire cities, buried miles under the ice, sitting there like ghosts on the scans. Most scientists think they're mountains, or old volcanic calderas, or giant chunks of meteor that hit the Earth millions of years ago. And yeah, that's probably what most of them are. But not all of them. There are a few, and I mean just a few, that don't fit the pattern. They're too smooth, too symmetrical, too organized, like something shaped them on purpose. Now, before you jump to conclusions, let me say this. Nature can be weirdly organized, too. Crystals form in perfect shapes, Rocks can crack in straight lines. Just because something looks designed doesn't mean it was. But it does make you think, what if, just what if, one of those anomalies isn't natural? What if it's something left behind from a time we don't remember, or from a place we don't know? And here's the kicker. We can't go check, because of the ice, because of the rules, because of the risk. So, it just sits there, blipping on the radar, driving scientists crazy, while the rest of us wonder what it could be. But let's dig deeper into the time thing, because that one really gets me. Time isn't supposed to change. A second is a second, no matter where you are, right? Well, not exactly. Einstein proved that time can bend. It slows down when you're moving really fast, or when you're near something super heavy, like a black hole. That's relativity. It's real. It's proven. And it's how GPS satellites work. But Antarctica, it's not moving fast. And it's not near a black hole. So why is time acting weird there? The official explanation is that it's because of the ice. All that frozen water has mass, and mass creates gravity. And gravity bends time. Just a tiny, tiny bit. But enough to measure. And that makes sense. Until you realize that other places with just as much ice don't show the same effect. Greenland, for example, huge ice sheet, but the time thing, not nearly as strong. So, what's different about Antarctica? What's under the ice that makes it special? Some scientists think it's the crust. The rock underneath Antarctica is ancient, some of the oldest on Earth, and old rock is dense, heavy. Maybe that extra density is what's bending time, but others aren't so sure. They think there's something else down there, something we haven't seen yet, something that doesn't show up on regular scans because it's different. Maybe it's a kind of rock we've never found before. Maybe it's a deposit of some super dense mineral, or maybe, and this is the part that keeps people up at night, maybe it's not from Earth at all. What if something fell from space a long time ago? What if it hit Antarctica back when the continent was still green and warm, and it buried itself deep? And then the ice came and covered it up. And what if that thing, whatever it is still down there, radiating weird energy, bending gravity and time, and magnetism, in ways we don't understand? It sounds crazy, but we've found meteorites in Antarctica before. Lots of them. The ice preserves them perfectly. And some of those meteorites are strange. Really strange. They contain minerals that don't exist anywhere else on Earth. Minerals that can only form in the vacuum of space, or under crazy pressure, or in temperatures we can't reproduce. So, if meteorites can be weird, why not something bigger? Why not something that crashed so hard it left a scar in the planet itself? And if that's true, if there's something alien buried under the ice, then the reason we can't touch it isn't just about science. It's about survival, because we have no idea what that thing is. We don't know if it's stable. We don't know if it's dangerous. We don't know if poking it would wake it up, or set it off, or trigger something we can't control. And, until we know, the safest thing to do is leave it alone. But here's the problem. The ice is melting. Remember, climate change, warming oceans, all that stuff. The ice that's been protecting us, protecting it, is starting to disappear. And as it melts, the secrets are getting closer to the surface, closer to us, closer to being found, whether we're ready or not. So, the clock is ticking. And the question isn't just why can't we touch it anymore. The question is becoming how long until we have to touch it. How long until the ice melts enough that whatever's down there gets exposed on its own. And when that happens, what then? Do we just wait and see? Do we try to dig it up first, so we can control how it's revealed? Or do we try to cover it back up, bury it deeper, hide it again before it's too late? I don't have the answers. Nobody does. But the fact that these are real questions, being asked by real scientists, in real meetings, that should tell you something. This isn't a game. This isn't a bedtime story. This is real. And it's happening right now, at the bottom of the world, in the coldest, loneliest, most mysterious place on Earth. And we're running out of time. So, let's talk about what happens when the ice does melt. Because it's not just a what if anymore. It's happening. Right now. Slowly. But steadily. And every year, Antarctica shows us a little bit more of what it's been hiding. In the last few decades, scientists have watched huge chunks of ice break off and drift into the ocean. They've seen glaciers that used to be stable start to slide faster and faster. They've measured temperatures that are rising, water that's warming, and ice that's thinning. And every time a new piece of ice melts away, it reveals something that's been hidden for thousands, sometimes millions of years. Sometimes, it's just rock. Gray, boring, ancient rock that hasn't seen the sun since before humans existed. But other times, it's something else. In 2016, researchers found a mountain range under the ice. Not little hills, massive mountains, taller than anything in the United States. They'd been hidden under miles of ice, completely unknown to the world. And now, as the ice shrinks, their peaks are starting to poke through. It's like watching a giant wake up from a lawn sleep. But mountains aren't the only thing appearing. Scientists have also found valleys, riverbeds, and coastlines, evidence of a time when Antarctica wasn't frozen at all. A time when it was warm, green, and full of life. And the more they find, the more they realize, Antarctica has a past. A big, complex, mysterious past. And we're only just starting to uncover it. But here's where it gets really interesting. In some of those newly exposed areas, they've found things that shouldn't be there. Rocks that are out of place, like they were moved by something. Patterns in the ground that look almost intentional, and in a few spots, shapes that don't quite make sense. Now, I'm not saying it's proof of anything, but it's enough to make you wonder, what was Antarctica like before the ice? Who, or what, was here? And what did they leave behind? Some scientists think that millions of years ago, Antarctica was part of a much bigger landmass. It was connected to South America, Africa, and Australia, all joined together in one giant supercontinent called Gondwana. And back then, it wasn't frozen. It was covered in forests. It had rivers, lakes, and animals, dinosaurs, even. So, if you walked across Antarctica back then, you'd see trees, hear birds, feel warmth. It was a totally different world. But then, things changed. The continents drifted apart. Antarctica slid south, toward the bottom of the planet. The temperature dropped. The ice came, and everything that lived there either left, adapted, or got buried, frozen in time. But what if not everything got buried by accident? What if some things were meant to be hidden? What if, a long, long time ago, something happened in Antarctica that was so important, so dangerous, or so powerful, that it had to be covered up? Not by people. This was way before people, but by the planet itself, by time, by ice. What if Antarctica is Earth's way of keeping a secret? I know. That sounds like the planet is alive, like it's thinking and planning. And obviously, that's not how geology works. But think about it this way. Earth has been around for over 4 billion years. It's been through a lot. Ice ages, meteor strikes, volcanic eruptions, mass extinctions. And through all of that, it's found a way to balance itself, to reset, to heal. So, maybe Antarctica isn't just a frozen wasteland. Maybe it's a vault, a place where the planet stores things it doesn't want disturbed. A place where the past is locked away, safe from the present. And the ice is the lock. As long as the ice is there, the vault stays closed. But if the ice melts, the lock breaks, the vault opens, and whatever's inside comes out. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what we'll find as the ice keeps melting. And we don't know if we're ready for it. But ready or not, it's coming. Every summer, the ice melts a little more. Every year, the temperatures rise a little higher. And every decade, we get closer and closer to the point where the secrets of Antarctica won't be secrets anymore. They'll be out in the open, exposed, unavoidable. And when that happens, we'll have to face them. We'll have to deal with whatever we find. And we'll have to answer the question we've been avoiding this whole time. What do we do with the truth? Do we study it, protect it, hide it again? Or do we use it, whatever it is, to change the world? Because here's the thing. Knowledge is power. And power can be used for good or for bad. If we find something amazing under the ice, something that could cure diseases, or create clean energy, or help us understand the universe, then yeah, that's incredible. That's worth celebrating. But what if we find something dangerous? Something that could be turned into a weapon? Or something that changes our understanding of history so much, it shakes the foundations of everything we believe? What then? Do we tell the world? Or do we keep it secret, locked away in a new vault, hidden from everyone? These are the questions scientists and leaders are asking right now, because they know the ice is melting. They know the secrets are coming, And they know that once those secrets are out, there's no putting them back. So, Antarctica's buried secret isn't just about what's under the ice. It's about what we do when we finally see it. It's about the choices we make, the responsibility we take, the future we build, and that's the real mystery. Not what's buried, but what happens next. Let's switch gears for a minute and talk about the people who are actually there, the ones standing on the ice, living with the mystery every single day. Because Antarctica isn't just a place on a map, it's home to a small group of brave, curious, sometimes slightly crazy people who've chosen to spend months, or even years, at the bottom of the world. And trust me, they've got stories. Most people who go to Antarctica are scientists. They're there to study the ice, the weather, the animals, the rocks. But when you talk to them, really talk to them, a lot of them will admit there's something else that keeps them coming back, something they can't quite explain. It's the feeling, the weight of the place, the sense that you're standing on top of something huge, something old, something that's watching you, even though you can't see it. I know that sounds spooky, but it's a common thing people say. They talk about the silence, how it's not just quiet, but heavy, like the air is pressing down on you. They talk about the light, how it plays tricks on your eyes, making you see things that aren't there, shapes in the snow, shadows that move, horizons that seem to bend. And they talk about the dreams. Oh man, the dreams. Almost everyone who spends a winter in Antarctica, the long, dark winter when the sun doesn't rise for months, reports having weird dreams. Vivid, strange, sometimes terrifying dreams. Dreams about being buried. Dreams about falling through the ice. Dreams about finding doors in the snow that lead to places that shouldn't exist. Some people think it's just the isolation. Your brain gets bored, so it makes stuff up to keep you entertained. Others think it's the lack of sunlight messing with your sleep cycle. But a few think it's something else. They think the land is talking to them, whispering, showing them things. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. There's actual science behind this. The Earth has a magnetic field, right? And that field affects our brains. It's subtle, but it's real. Some researchers think that the magnetic anomalies in Antarctica, the weird, swirling, unpredictable magnetic fields, might be affecting people's brains in ways we don't fully understand. It could be causing hallucinations, strange thoughts, vivid dreams, or it could be letting people sense something that's really there, something buried, something trying to reach out. Creepy, right? But it gets even weirder. There are stories, unofficial stories, ones that don't make it into the science journals, about people going missing in Antarctica. Not a lot, just a few, over the years. And most of them have perfectly normal explanations. They wandered off in a blizzard. They fell into a crevasse. They got turned around and couldn't find their way back. That there are a couple of cases that don't add up. People who disappeared in clear weather, with tracking devices, in areas they knew really well. People who were experienced, careful, trained. And they just vanished. No trace, no body, no clues, just gone. Some people think they fell into hidden crevasses that haven't been found yet. Others think they were carried off by freak storms that came out of nowhere. But a few think something else happened. Something the ice doesn't want us to know about. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying, it makes you think, what if Antarctica doesn't want to be explored? What if the land itself, or whatever's under it, has a way of protecting its secrets? What if the reason we can't touch it isn't just about rules and treaties, but because the ice fights back? Okay, I know that sounds like a horror movie, but let's bring it back to reality for a second. The truth is, Antarctica is dangerous. Really dangerous. Even with all our technology, all our preparation, people still get hurt. They still make mistakes. And the land doesn't forgive. It's not evil. It's not trying to hurt anyone. It's just indifferent. It doesn't care if you survive or not. It's been there for millions of years, and it'll be there for millions more, whether you make it back to base or not. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not that Antarctica is hiding something, but that it doesn't care if we find it. It doesn't care if we live or die trying. It just sits there, cold and silent, waiting. That the people who go there, they care. They're driven by something deeper than just curiosity. They're driven by the need to know, the need to understand, the need to push the boundaries of what's possible and see what's on the other side. And that's what makes them heroes. Not because they find answers, but because they keep asking questions, even when the questions are dangerous. Even when the ice pushes back. Even when the mystery gets darker and stranger and harder to explain. They keep going. They keep searching. And maybe, just maybe, one day, they'll find what they're looking for. Or maybe they'll find something they weren't looking for at all. Something that changes everything. Something that makes all the rules, all the risks, all the fear worth it. But until that day comes, the mystery remains. And the people on the ice, they're the ones standing between us and the unknown. They're the ones keeping watch. They're the ones listening to the whispers in the wine, the cracks in the ice, the dreams that come in the long, dark night. And they're the ones who'll be there when the ice finally melts, and the buried secret is revealed. So, here's something most people don't know. Antarctica isn't as empty as you think. Yeah. It's mostly ice and snow and silence, but scattered across that frozen desert are research stations, more than 70 of them, from countries all over the world. The United States has McMurdo Station, which is like a small town with hundreds of people. Russia has Vostok Station, sitting right on top of that mysterious lake we talked about. There's the Amundsen Scott Station at the South Pole itself, and then there are dozens of smaller bases, some with just a handful of people, tucked into valleys and perched on ice shelves. And here's the thing. They're all doing science. Climate research, ice core drilling, astronomy, biology. That's the official story. But some people wonder, is that all they're doing? Because if you look at the history, things get a little murky. During the Cold War, both the US and the Soviet Union were very interested in Antarctica. They sent ships, planes, and teams of people. They built bases in the most remote, most difficult places. And yeah, they said it was for science. But this was also the height of the space race, the arms race, the race for technological dominance. So, it's hard not to wonder, were they really just there to study penguins? Or were they looking for something else? Something they didn't want to talk about? There are declassified documents now that show both countries were exploring Antarctica for strategic reasons. They wanted to know if it could be used for military purposes. They wanted to map it, understand it, control it. And when the Antarctic Treaty was signed in 1959, it put an end to all that. Officially, it banned military activity, weapons testing, and territorial claims. Everybody agreed to play nice. But here's the question. Did they really stop? Or did they just get quieter about it? I'm not saying there are secret bases or hidden labs or anything like that, but I am saying, we don't know. Most of Antarctica is so remote, so hard to monitor, that you could hide a lot of things out there if you wanted to. And some people believe that's exactly what's happening. They think certain countries are still searching for whatever's buried under the ice, that they found clues, maybe even pieces of the puzzle, and they're keeping it quiet until they know more. Why? Because knowledge is power. And if you're the first one to find something world-changing, you get to decide what happens next. You get to control the narrative. You get to choose whether the world finds out, or whether it stays secret forever. Now, I can't prove any of that, and honestly, it's probably just conspiracy talk. But the fact that people are asking these questions tells you something. It tells you that Antarctica still feels like a place where secrets are possible, where the unknown is real, and where the rules might not be as solid as they seem. But let's move on from the conspiracy stuff and talk about something even stranger. The sounds. Yeah, you heard me. Antarctica makes sounds, weird sounds. Sounds that scientists have recorded but can't always explain. There's something called ice quakes. They happen when the ice shifts or cracks, releasing pressure. It sounds like a deep rumble, or a sharp crack, like a tree snapping in half. And sometimes, it sounds like a moan. A low, eerie groan that echoes across the ice. It's totally natural, caused by the ice moving and settling. But when you're standing out there in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by white, and you hear that sound rolling toward you like a wave, it feels like the land is alive. Then there are the underwater sounds. Scientists have dropped microphones into the ocean around Antarctica, and they've picked up all kinds of things. Whale songs, obviously, the creak and crack of icebergs, the hum of distant ships. But there's also this hum, a low frequency that nobody can quite pin down. It's not constant. It comes and goes, and it doesn't match any known animal or human source. Some think it's caused by ice rubbing against the ocean floor. Others think it's a kind of acoustic resonance where sound waves bounce around in weird ways. But nobody knows for sure. And that hum, it's been getting louder. Not by a lot, but enough that people are noticing. Enough that some researchers are starting to wonder if something is changing down there. If something is waking up. Okay, I know how that sounds, but think about it. The ice is melting. The land is shifting. The pressure that's been holding everything in place for millions of years starting to ease. What happens when you release pressure? Things move, things shift, things that were stuck get unstuck. So, maybe that hum is just the sound of the earth adjusting. Or maybe it's the sound of something else. Something that's been waiting, buried under the ice, for a very, very long time. And now, as the ice melts and the world warms, it's starting to stir. I know. It sounds like a movie. That Antarctica as a way of making even the wildest ideas feel possible. Because the truth is, we don't know. We don't know what's under the ice. We don't know what's making those sounds. We don't know what the magnetic anomalies mean, or why time moves slower there, or what those weird shapes on the radar really are. All we know is that something is there. Something big. Something old. Something mysterious. And every year, as the ice melts and the secrets come closer to the surface, we get a little bit closer to finding out what it is. But are we ready? That's the real question. Are we ready for the truth? Are we ready to face whatever Antarctica has been hiding all this time? Or are we better off leaving it buried, locked away under the ice, safe from the world and safe from us? The clock is ticking. The ice is melting. And the buried secret of Antarctica is waiting. Just a little bit longer, just a little bit deeper. And we'll finally know. But once we know, there's no going back. Alright, let's zoom out for a second. Because this isn't just about Antarctica anymore. This is about us. About the whole planet. About what happens when the biggest secret on Earth finally comes to light. Because here's the thing. Whatever's buried under that ice, it's not going to stay buried forever. The ice is melting. The climate is changing. And whether we like it or not, we're going to have to face what's underneath. And that could change everything. Think about it. Right now, the world is connected. We've got the internet, satellites, planes flying everywhere, ships crossing every ocean. Information spreads in seconds. A discovery, Antarctica wouldn't stay secret for long. The moment someone finds something big, really big, the whole world will know. And then what? What happens when the mystery ends and the truth begins? Let's say scientists finally drill into one of those subglacial lakes and find life. Not just bacteria, but something more complex. Something that's been evolving in isolation for millions of years. Something we've never seen before. That would be one of the biggest discoveries in human history. It would prove that life can survive in the most extreme conditions. It would change how we search for life on other planets. It would rewrite biology textbooks and inspire a whole new generation of scientists. That's the good version, the hopeful one. But there's another version. What if that life is dangerous? What if it's a bacteria or virus that our immune systems have never encountered? What if bringing it to the surface accidentally releases it into the environment? We've seen what happens when a new disease spreads. We've lived through it. And that was something from our own planet, something that evolved alongside us. Now imagine something that's been locked away, completely separate from the rest of life on Earth, for millions of years. Imagine what that could do if it got out. Scary, right? But it's not just about diseases. There's also the question of resources. Antarctica is huge, and we've barely scratched the surface, literally. There could be minerals, metals, oil, gas, rare earth elements, things that are valuable, really valuable. And right now, the treaty says nobody can take them. But treaties can be changed. And if the ice melts enough that those resources become easy to reach, well, history has shown us what happens when valuable stuff is up for grabs. Countries start competing, tensions rise, and sometimes, things get ugly. The Antarctic Treaty has kept the peace for more than 60 years. But it's just a piece of paper. It only works if everyone agrees to follow it. And if something big enough is discovered, if the stakes get high enough, will everyone still agree? Or will the race begin? The race to claim, to control, to take. It's happened before. With land, with gold, with oil. And it could happen again. That's the real danger. Not just what's under the ice, but what we do when we find it. How we react. How we treat each other. Whether we work together or tear each other apart. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night. We don't have a great track record. Humans are amazing. We've built incredible things, discovered incredible truths, accomplished incredible feats. But we've also fought wars, destroyed ecosystems, and let greed and fear drive our decisions. So, when the buried secret of Antarctica is finally revealed, which version of humanity will show up? The best version, or the worst? I want to believe it'll be the best. I want to believe that when we finally find out what's under the ice, we'll handle it with care, with respect, with wisdom. That we'll study it, protect it, and share what we learn with the whole world. That we'll use it to make life better, not worse. But I can't be sure, and neither can anyone else. That's why some scientists say we should slow down. We should be more careful. We should think long and hard before we go dig it. Because once we open that door, we can't close it. Once we see what's there, we can't unsee it. And once we take it out, we can't put it back. But others say the opposite. They say we need to hurry, because if we don't explore Antarctica on our terms, nature will do it for us. The ice is melting whether we like it or not. And if we're not ready when the secrets are revealed, if we're caught off guard, if we haven't prepared, then we'll be in trouble. Real trouble. So, there's this tension, this push and pull between caution and curiosity, between protecting the mystery and solving it, between leaving Antarctica alone and racing to uncover its secrets before it's too late. And caught in the middle of all that is us. You. Me. Everyone. Because this isn't just a story about scientists and explorers. It's a story about the future. Our future. What kind of world do we want to live in? What kind of choices do we want to make? And what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? Antarctica is testing us. It's asking us a question. And the answer we give, that's going to matter a lot, because if we get it right, if we handle this mystery with care and respect, then maybe we prove that we're ready. Ready to face the unknown. Ready to protect the planet. Ready to grow up as a species and take responsibility for the world we live in. But if we get it wrong, if we let greed, fear, or recklessness take over, then we lose more than just a secret. We lose trust. We lose balance. And we lose one of the last wild, untouched places on Earth. So, yeah, the stakes are high. Higher than most people realize. And the clock is ticking, faster than most people know. Antarctica's buried secret is closer than ever. And the world is watching, whether it knows it or not. So, let's bring this back home, because Antarctica might be at the bottom of the world, but what happens there affects all of us, every single person, no matter where you live, no matter who you are. The ice, the secrets, the mysteries, they're all connected to the bigger picture, and that picture is our planet. Our home. The only one we've got. You see, Antarctica is like the Earth's thermostat. It helps control the temperature of the whole planet. All that white ice reflects sunlight back into space, keeping things cool. The cold water that flows away from Antarctica travels through the oceans, mixing with warmer water, creating currents that move heat around the globe. Those currents affect the weather, the seasons, the fish in the sea, the crops on land. Everything is connected. Everything is linked. So, when the ice melts, it doesn't just affect Antarctica. It affects everyone. Sea levels rise, threatening coastal cities. Ocean currents change, shifting weather patterns. Ecosystems that depend on cold water start to collapse. And the whole delicate balance that keeps our planet livable starts to wobble. But it's not just about the environment. It's also about what the ice represents. Antarctica is the last truly wild place on Earth. It's a place where nature still rules, where humans are just visitors, not owners, where the land is bigger, older, and more powerful than anything we've built. And in a world that's been explored, mapped, and claimed from edge to edge, that matters. It matters to have a place that reminds us we're not in control. That there are still mysteries we haven't solved, that there are still places we haven't touched. It keeps us humble. It keeps us curious. It keeps us dreaming. And if we lose that, if we pave over the last wild places, drill into every mystery, and claim every inch of the planet as ours, then we lose something important, something we can't get back. We lose the sense of wonder, the feeling that there's still more to discover, the knowledge that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. Antarctica gives us that. It's a gift, a reminder, a challenge. But here's the tough part. We can't just leave it alone forever, because the ice is melting. The secrets are coming out. And we have to deal with that. We have to figure out how to explore responsibly, how to study carefully, How to protect what's precious while still learning what's true. And that's hard, really hard. It takes cooperation between countries that don't always get along. It takes scientists who are willing to move slowly, even when they're desperate for answers. It takes leaders who think long-term, not just about the next election or the next profit report. And it takes all of us, regular people, paying attention, caring, asking questions, holding the powerful accountable, because if we don't, if we look away, if we assume someone else will take care of it, then the decisions will be made without us, and we might not like the results. So, what can you do? What can one person do about a giant mystery at the bottom of the world? More than you think. You can learn. You can ask questions. You can talk to people about what's happening in Antarctica. You can support the scientists and explorers who are doing this work the right way. You can vote for leaders who care about the environment and want to protect wild places. And you can remember that the Earth is fragile, that the ice is melting, that the mysteries are real, and that the choices we make today will shape the world for generations to come. It sounds heavy, I know, and it is, but it's also hopeful, because if we care enough, if we try hard enough, if we work together, we can get this right. We can solve the mystery without destroying it. We can learn the truth without losing the wonder. We can face the unknown with courage, curiosity, and respect. And maybe, just maybe, when the buried secret of Antarctica is finally revealed, we'll be ready. Not just scientifically, but emotionally, morally, as a species. Maybe we'll prove that we're worthy of the truth, that we can handle the responsibility, that we're ready to step into the next chapter of our story. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll mess it up. Maybe we'll let fear, or greed, or ignorance win. Maybe the ice will melt, the secret will come out, and we'll stumble through it, making mistakes, causing damage, losing what we should have protected. I don't know which way it'll go. Nobody does. But I do know this. The story isn't over yet. We're still writing it. Every day, with every choice, we're deciding what happens next. And that means we still have a chance. A chance to do better, to be better, to protect the planet, explore the mysteries, and build a future we can be proud of. Antarctica is watching. The ice is waiting. And the buried secret, well, it's not going anywhere. Not yet, but it's getting closer. And the question isn't just what's under the ice anymore. The question is, what will we do when we find out? And the answer to that question, that's up to us. Alright, we're getting close now. Close to the end of our journey. Close to the truth. Or at least, as close as we can get without actually stepping onto the ice ourselves. So, let's pull all the pieces together. Let's look at everything we've learned and see if we can figure out what Antarctica's buried secret really is. We've talked about the ice, miles and miles of it, holding the continent in a frozen grid. We've talked about the hidden world underneath, mountains, lakes, volcanoes, all buried where no one can see them. We've talked about the strange things scientists have found. Gravity anomalies, magnetic weirdness, time moving just a little bit slower. We've talked about the rules, the treaty, the reason nobody's allowed to just dig wherever they want. And we've talked about the risks, contamination, danger, the possibility of finding something we're not ready for. So, what does it all mean? What's the big picture? Here's what I think. I think Antarctica's buried secret isn't just one thing. It's a whole bunch of things, layered on top of each other like the ice itself. At the surface, it's about protecting the environment, keeping the last wild place on Earth safe from human greed and carelessness. That's real, and it's important. But underneath that, there's science. The ice holds clues about the planet's past, about climate change, about how life survives in extreme conditions. That's valuable. That's knowledge we need. But go deeper, and there's mystery. Things we can't explain. Anomalies that don't fit the models. Sounds, shapes, signals that make scientists scratch their heads and wonder what's really going on down there. And deeper still, there's fear. Fear of what we might find. Fear of what we might release. Fear of what it could mean for the future. Not just Antarctica's future, but ours. All of those layers are real. All of them matter. And all of them are part of the reason we can't just touch it. Because Antarctica isn't just a place. It's a symbol. A test. A mirror that reflects back who we are and who we want to be. And here's the thing. We're at a turning point. For the first time in human history, we have the technology to explore Antarctica fully. We can map it, drill it, studied in ways that were impossible just a few decades ago. We're so close to unlocking all its secrets. But at the same time, we're also at a point where we could lose it. The ice is melting, the climate is changing, and the window to study Antarctica as it is, wild, untouched, frozen, is closing, fast. So, we have to choose. Do we rush in, grab what we can, and hope for the best? Or do we slow down, take our time, and do it right? Do we treat Antarctica like a treasure chest to be cracked open? Or like a library to be carefully preserved and studied? And that choice, that's what the buried secret is really about. It's not just about what's under the ice. It's about what's inside us, our values, our priorities, our ability to think beyond ourselves and consider the bigger picture. Because here's the truth. Whatever's under the ice, it's been there for millions of years. It's not going anywhere. Not on its own. The only thing that's changing is us. We're the ones who are getting closer. We're the ones who are pushing the boundaries. We're the ones who have to decide what happens next. And that's a huge responsibility. A scary responsibility. But also, an incredible one. Because think about it. We're living in a time when one of the biggest mysteries on Earth is about to be solved. We might be the generation that finally finds out what's under the ice. We might be the ones who get to see what Antarctica has been hiding all this time. That's exciting. That's amazing. But it also means we have to be careful. We have to be smart. We have to be wise. Because once the secret is out, it's out forever. And what we do with it will define us. Not just as individuals, but as a species. So, as we stand here, at the edge of the unknown, looking down into the mystery, what do we see? Do we see danger, opportunity, responsibility, hope? Maybe we see all of it. Maybe the buried secret of Antarctica is big enough, complex enough, important enough to hold all of those things at once. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay not to have all the answers yet. Maybe it's okay to be a little bit scared, a little bit curious, a little bit unsure, because that's what exploration is. That's what discovery is. It's stepping into the unknown, even when you don't know what you'll find, even when you're afraid, even when you know there's a risk, but you do it anyway, because the need to know, the need to understand, the need to push forward, that's part of what makes us human. And Antarctica, cold, distant, mysterious Antarctica, is calling to that part of us. It's asking us to come closer, to look deeper, to reach out and touch the unknown. But it's also asking us to be careful, to be respectful, to remember that some things are bigger than us. Some mysteries are worth protecting, even if we never fully solve them. So, the buried secret of Antarctica, it's still there, waiting. And we're still here, wondering, and maybe, just maybe, that's exactly where we're supposed to be. Right on the edge, right at the threshold, not quite touching, not quite knowing, but getting closer. Every day, every year, every melting season, closer to the truth, closer to the answer, closer to the moment when everything changes. And when that moment comes, when the ice finally melts enough, when the secret finally comes to light, when we finally find out what's been buried all this time, we'll be ready. Or at least, we'd better be, because Antarctica doesn't wait, the ice doesn't care. And the buried secret, it's been patient long enough. So, here we are, at the end of our journey. We started at the top of the world, looking down at a frozen mystery. And now, we're still here, still looking, still wondering. But maybe we see things a little differently now. Maybe Antarctica doesn't feel quite so far away anymore. Maybe the ice doesn't feel quite so silent. Maybe the buried secret doesn't feel like someone else's problem. It feels personal, because it is. Antarctica is part of our planet, part of our home. And what happens there happens to all of us. The ice that's melting, that affects our oceans, our weather, our future. The secrets that are buried, they hold answers about our past, our present, and what's coming next. And the choices we make about how to explore, how to protect, how to balance curiosity with caution, those choices will echo for generations. So yeah, it's personal, but it's also universal, because Antarctica isn't just asking us questions, it's asking humanity questions, big questions. Questions like, can we explore without destroying? Can we learn without taking? Can we face the unknown with respect instead of greed? Can we work together, even when it's hard, even when we disagree, for the sake of something bigger than ourselves? Those are the real mysteries. Not what's under the ice, but what's inside us. And honestly, I think that's what makes this story so powerful, because it's not really about Antarctica at all. It's about us. It's about who we are, who we've been, and who we want to become. Antarctica is just the mirror, the test, the stage where all of that plays out. And the buried secret? Maybe it's not a thing at all. Maybe it's a feeling. The feeling that there's still something out there worth protecting. Still something worth wondering about. Still something that reminds us we don't have all the answers. And that's okay, because the world is big, and strange, and beautiful, and full of mysteries we haven't even begun to understand. And Antarctica, cold, lonely, silent Antarctica, is one of the last places where that's still true. So, what happens next? I don't know. Nobody does. The ice will keep melting. The scientists will keep exploring. The world will keep watching. And one day, maybe soon, maybe not, the buried secret will come to light. And when it does, we'll all have to decide what it means. What we do with it. How we move forward. But until that day comes, let's just take a moment. A moment to appreciate the mystery, to feel the weight of the unknown, to stand at the edge of the ice and look out at all that white, all that silence, all that hidden depth, and feel small, in the best way. Because being small doesn't mean we don't matter. It means we're part of something bigger, something older, something that will still be here long after we're gone. And maybe that's the real gift Antarctica gives us. Not answers, but perspective. Not treasure, but humility. Not control, but wonder. So, if you take anything away from this journey, let it be this. The world is still full of secrets. Some of them are buried under ice. Some of them are buried under oceans, or deserts, or jungles. And some of them are buried inside us, waiting to be discovered. And that's beautiful. That's exciting. That's worth protecting. So, keep asking questions. Keep exploring. Keep wondering. But do it with care, with respect, with the knowledge that some things are bigger than us. And that's exactly why they matter. Antarctica's buried secret is still out there, waiting, watching, whispering through the wind and the ice and the silence. And maybe, just maybe, it's not meant to be touched. Maybe it's meant to be felt, understood, respected, from a distance, with awe. And maybe that's enough. Because sometimes, the best mysteries are the ones that stay mysteries. The ones that keep us dreaming. The ones that remind us that no matter how much we learn, there's always more. Always deeper. Always something just beyond our reach. And Antarctica, it's the keeper of that feeling. The guardian of the unknown. The last great question mark on the map. So, let's leave it there. For now, let's step back from the ice, take a breath, and remember what we've learned. That the Earth is stranger than we thought. That the unknown is closer than we imagined. That the future is still being written. And that we, you, me, all of us, we're part of that story. We get to decide what happens next. We get to choose how the mystery unfolds. And that's a responsibility we can't take lightly. But it's also a gift, a chance, an adventure. So, thank you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me, for stepping into the cold, for looking into the darkness, for asking the questions that don't have easy answers, and for caring, because that's what it takes. That's what the world needs. People who care about the mysteries, who want to protect them, who understand that some things are worth more than their answers. Antarctica is one of those things, and now, you know why we can't touch it. Not because it's forbidden, but because it's sacred. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's precious. Not because we're afraid of what's there, but because we respect it too much to disturb it. At least, not yet. Not until we're ready. Not until we've proven that we can handle the truth with the care it deserves. And when that day comes, when the ice finally melts, and the secret finally emerges, we'll be there. Watching, waiting, ready, and maybe, just maybe, we'll finally understand what was buried, why it was hidden, and what it means for all of us. But, until then, the mystery continues. The ice holds strong, and the buried secret of Antarctica stays exactly where it belongs, just out of reach, just beneath the surface, just waiting for the right moment, for the right people, for the right time. And maybe that time is closer than we think, or maybe it's still a long way off. Only Antarctica knows, and it's not telling. Not yet. Hit the bell icon, subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next video. The hidden ocean beneath the Sahara Desert.